Hello and welcome to Low Budget Radio Show. I am your host, Lee Polero. This week, instead of doing an actual radio show, we're going to be focusing on the low budget indie Lemon Drop, available now to rent on Amazon Prime and Vimeo. Along with me today, I have producer and director of Lemon Drop, Stephanie Greenquist.
Hello.
And producer and main actress, Sammi Lappin.
Hi, friends.
So for those of us just joining, can you give an elevator pitch of what Lemon Drop is?
I was going to point to you. Oh, I've been called on. We have this written out really well, but it's not in front of me. Should have been. Nope. Lemon Drop is the story of a young actress who feels as though she's in the shadow of the work of her mother, who was a famous actress. And this propels her to meet some sort of shady people in the industry and make some choices that are probably not the healthiest, and propels her down a road of self-destruction and of self-education, as it were.
Bravo! That was better than I could have done.
Yes, I did a good job.
And about how long did this take to complete, from both script writing and starting filming to end filming?
Oh gosh, well, this script was the first one I started when I moved here back in 2005. So, it was sort of just one that I had packed way back in the closet. And one day I just, wanted to kind of take it out, unpack it, and see what I wanted to do with it. Once I finally approached Sammi, which is a story in itself, we did it really fast. It went from here to read the script to I read the script, I like it, to should we do this? Yes. And then, about a year and a half later, it was complete. And it's been such an amazing adventure since then.
Awesome. So there are a lot of indie films out there. What separates your film and you as filmmakers from everybody else, do you think?
Our style. We're very, especially in Lemon Drop, we've been very non-traditional filmmakers, I guess. But it was kind of just our way of getting things done. Right. We just kind of, looked at the resources we had. In some cases that was limited, and we looked at the budget we had, which is very limited. But then we looked at the people around us, and those resources were plentiful. So we worked really hard to collaborate with the team to just kind of like scrappy, figure out how to do it. And a lot of that energy for me came from our producer sessions at Steph's house with her two little kids running around. And I grew up in a big family, so that makes me feel super at home. And I think that working from that place really it grew our family-based collaborative process of making this movie.
Totally. I think collaboration was a big word for us. It sets the tone of all of our sets, but especially Lemon Drop. One thing that was really important to us is to let people feel comfortable in whatever role they play to bring their ideas to the table. And we would listen to them all, and we respect them, and we have a safe place for people to vulnerably suggest and be a part of this project that was sort of bigger than all of us. So even though I was the director, which might be looked at as a head of a set, and Sammi being the producer and the main actress, we certainly weren't the ones making all of the creative decisions. We opened it up to everybody. One of the extras had an amazing idea for a scene, for the end of the scene, and we tied it in and it made the final cut. It was just, everybody's project. Everybody who was involved has a piece of the project, and that was a really cool vibe to have, that we continue to have in all of our productions since then.
Awesome. Now, this is a low-budget podcast, as our regular listeners will know, as we make our own sound effects and everything. And Lemon Drop was really...
Pause. Can I hear some of those sound effects real quick?
I never do the sound effects. It's usually Sammi or Denise.
Okay. Here's the sound effect of an egg dropping. Splat.
Yep. That's pretty much how it goes.
That was amazing.
Thank you. I will not be our sound artist on our next film. Don't you worry.
But Lemon Drop is a very low budget indie, recording or filming over weekends mostly, because everybody has, day jobs throughout the week. What was the hardest part about filming over weekends and accommodating everybody's schedules?
I mean, I think that was it. Some people had the day jobs. A lot of people worked on productions during the week. So that's full 12, 14, 16-hour days. A lot of our actors are working actors, so their schedules were all over the place. I'm a mom, so I have a schedule to, handle the children, and it was just sort of crazy. But I think if you could believe in the universe, like just making it all happen, it just ended up that we just found the right days to make it happen. It all came together beautifully, and it worked out. And we got it done in the span of about 6 months, which all things considered, I think is pretty impressive that we were able to wrangle everybody, all the locations. We had a ton of locations. We had over 100 actors. We had a choreographed musical. We had to, get the music was composed and the choreography was made and the costumes established. And it was just really incredible what was pulled together. And I'm super proud of that. And with such a small budget, it was more of a challenge than a deficit. I think we overcame the low budget aspect of it and made something that looks much more for what we had. And that was sort of the fun challenge of it all. And I think we were pretty successful in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also just want to say, in terms of, like the scheduling, I know how many times we've been like, that's their least favorite part, scheduling. It's literally like playing Tetris on speed 100 with like new shapes of blocks that aren't at right angles all of a sudden. Like it's, and a lot of that was Steph's incredible, just like a skill in scheduling, but also perseverance and like working through. But something that struck me when you said that was, like from that, like family collaborative thing, if someone booked a role that was a big deal, like we supported them and we're like, great, we'll reschedule that to the best of our ability. We want to support this other aspect of your career. Absolutely. Or on the other side of it, I remember our he was our AD, but he also, like we all did, wore every single hat and did everything. And we had, the Artist Loft location for only a very limited time, and Ben, our wonderful AD, had to have like emergency dental surgery.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Right? And and he was offering to like come in before and after. We were like, go home, take care of yourself. And that was the day that Heather, our one of our supporting actresses and assistant producers, she ran sound with your 6-month-old daughter strapped to her for the entire day. Yeah. So, but like in terms of the just figuring it out, I think that, and people feeling, able to speak up, that comes to mind in terms of like people are people, and we just, I don't know, we love our little community and crew, and it felt really cool to be in a position to support our friends and other artists like that.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And they made it easy too. Everybody was so loyal to this project. And that's why we could do it in 6 months. We could do it on the weekends. Nobody drifted off. Everybody stuck to it. Everybody was ready for the next weekend. Everybody gave everything they could, and then someone offered every aspect of themselves and their talents, which still just blows my mind. And it's such an amazing thing to be a part of.
And this was no small undertaking. As you said before, there was a musical number. There are hallucination scenes. There's scenes with vast amount of people in a crowded area. When writing that compared to actually filming it, did you feel at the beginning like, we got this, don't worry, and then the day of go, how the fuck am I going to do this?
Let me just say one thing. In this script that Steph had painstakingly rewritten for like 10 years, and it was so refined and so beautiful, it literally just said, musical number here. That like, this is the point of it in the scene, but that is what it said. And I just remember being like, okay, well, we're not going to do that, right? And Steph was like, no, we're doing it.
We have to have a musical number.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then, connected with some amazing friends from our theater community, who, wrote a song and choreographed a song. Just that is one of my favorite things about like where it started versus how it was created. And it seemed like an incredibly stupid idea at the time. And it wasn't. It was large, and it was it felt impossible sometimes, and it is probably one of the things I'm most proud of in that. And that's one of my favorite things about working with you, Steph, is just to like put it on the record, is that nothing is ever impossible for you. And if Steph
I love that.
believes
What a
that we
compliment.
can do it, and when you say like we can do it, when you believe it, I trust you, and I believe that too, and it always happens.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. I think just going off that, so I think one of the other fun things about kind of going off the script and not being so stuck to it is all of the surprises and the surprise choices that we just make. I think one day we just had a short day. We just had the bathtub scene to shoot, super chill. And then we realized the carnival was in town. So we all looked at each other like, we have to go film in a carnival. Like, how special and how weird. And this is just perfect. And I don't think we even knew at that time it was going to be part of the hallucination scenes or where it fit in. We're just like, we need to go. This is a cool vibe. This is within the tone of what we're trying to do with it. Let's just go. And then we found out there was another carnival the same night. And then we went to that, and that was an experience in itself. But just the fact that it was, there was a degree of experimentation and everybody was open. And I think that's a really important element, that we're just like, let's try it. Let's see what we get. And the most magical things were when we were just open and we tried something and we got the most amazing things. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I can vouch for that because I am also an actor in it.
Of course.
It's a very open set, and everybody's suggestions were, brought to light in a very welcoming manner. Any of those suggestions that made it into the final film specifically that you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to give a major shout out to Steph and our editor, Mike, and for the final cut, because they reorganized whole sections of the script once it was put together, and they really just like, I don't know, followed the story. I feel like it would have been really easy to be like, no, like this is how we're putting it together, it sort of works, sort of doesn't, cool, but that's what we're doing. But I just remember like how cool it was to hear you guys talk about like reorganizing whole scenes and the stuff we talked about and ideas and just like being really open to what the story was telling us after we had shot it.
That's so true. I think we learned a lot about the characters and the plot and the story after we were done shooting, or while we were going through that whole process. And maybe it was because we had 6 months, we really got a lot of time to develop the characters and the plot and really understand, what the characters were doing, the reasoning behind all that. So I think at the end, we realized we don't have to stick to this linear script. There are elements that are much more important now, that really got expanded when we were doing it, that we got to focus on. So that was really fun putting that puzzle together. And I think it turned out much better when given the freedom to kind of step away from the script and just let it exist how it's supposed to.
Were there any days where you thought, wow, this is such a big undertaking, I don't think we can do it? And how did you power through that?
I mean, yeah.
What a great question.
I think most of that was like, after like a full week of working, and I mean, Steph, and you work and also have 2 small children who were much smaller when we filmed this movie. So like, that, and then, us, putting together props Friday night at 10 p.m. with a 6 a.m. call time for the next 2 days. Like, I distinctly remember like, we were like eating taco bowls, as we often do at your place. And I feel like at some point, like both of our heads were on the dining room table of just like, oh fuck, what are we doing? What are we gonna do? And then, I mean, something about, I think, our working relationship that's really special, so special, that I can't even say it, is that I feel like you and I often get each other out of that space and acknowledge it too, of like being like, yes, what we're doing is a Herculean undertaking, and it's totally cool that we are exhausted and kind of mad that we agreed to this right now. And
for sure.
And cool, let's take a breath, have some ice cream, and go do the thing we love to do.
A lot of breaths, a lot of ice cream, a lot of adrenaline and excitement after those scenes were done that kind of fueled the next week or two. I remember probably the most difficult time I had was after we shot the first scene. We kept it easy and we shot it here in my apartment. That was the easy part. The scene itself wasn't the ezy part. It was the sex scene. So it was very dramatic and kind of crazy. And
I was going to say, it felt less easy over here, but okay.
Yeah. And I just remember when we were done, everybody was sort of celebrating the kickoff of this undertaking in the kitchen. And I think some shots were being poured. People were excited. And I was in my son's room, who was 4 at the time, cuddled with him, like shaking. And I was like on the verge of tears because I was just like, what? Because I feel like you can't go back at that point. Like we started and it was scary and it was big and now it's happening and you absolutely have to finish it. And it just seems so enormous and overwhelming to me. And as it should. And what a great feeling to feel at the beginning to go to the end when it was just our last day shooting actually was the dance scene, and it was so hot out that day and we had like 40 dancers, extras on set, all sorts of props and moving parts. We were in a graveyard. It was super weird, super fun, but just the ecstasy of finishing it and accomplishing that regardless of what happened after that was just something. I just hope everybody experiences that feeling at some point in their lives. It just made the whole thing worth it and made the continued projects worth it as well. I just feel like I want to do this now for the rest of my life. And it was, I think, those two feelings that really grounded the project.
Totally. And I think, just to add real quick on that, like every time I felt overwhelmed, you know, it would be us at your dining room table researching a billion options for one space. You know, and that to me actually was really comforting. First of all, I thrive on that, you know, organized. There were spreadsheets. That always makes me feel good. But like breaking it down to like the one scene we're doing next week, you know, or that one moment, or like having a singular conversation with you about, you know, what Jillian should wear in this scene, and just getting into those really specific things that, like, you know, I just like, that just gets me so excited about a character, about a story. Those just little nerd storyteller details are the best. And every time we got into that is when I felt most confident of like, yes, we can do this one thing. And then next week we can do this one thing, you know? And then I just remember that last day looking around being like, holy shit. There's a great picture. It's all the dancers on those stairs. And you, Mike, and Travis, our DP, off to the side, and like we're making this huge deal scene, and it's 3 of you guys, a boom mic, and a camera, and like that's it. That's our whole crew. And I love that picture because to me that like just encompasses everything that we did.
It was a feat. It was a feat, and I feel just so proud and accomplished of what we were able to do on a $9,000 budget. I think it looks much greater, and I think it shows what we are capable of doing with an even larger budget. And I look forward to exploring that soon.
Fuck yeah.
So what kind of message or what would you like people to get out of this movie? And what's been the responses you've received that have shocked you the most?
That's such a great question. I think for me, writing it, it's very much a cautionary tale. No, Mom, it's not about me and my experiences. Thanks for asking every time I bring it up. Yep. But it is influenced by a lot of people I've met in Hollywood. I had a very different experience coming from Wisconsin and not being privy to a lot of maybe the underbelly of Hollywood that you kind of, you know, step into when you're an actor and you start, you know, meeting people who are, you know, whatever in the business. And it was so tragic to me to see some people who I just had all this talent, they just kind of threw it away because they couldn't manage everything. So I just wanted to tell that tale and hope it may prevent somebody from going that route, or at least knowing that they're not alone, that, you know, just hoping it can touch people and mean something to them on a very basic level.
Awesome.
Totally. And I think there's stuff, I mean, Jillian, our protagonist, has such a big journey throughout this film in a whole bunch of ways. And I hope that different parts of those journey might resonate with someone, even like one little part. I know, because I just know that like working on it, there were scenes that snuck up on me in terms of making me feel stuff and in a deep way, and really just bringing up stuff that I had experienced, like a one tiny thing that I was like, oh man, like this feels like this, like, and I think that's a testament to your writing, Steph, and these characters that you created, and you created some characters that aren't your typical archetypes too. So in some ways they are, and they fall in and out of those archetypes as that you might expect from these characters. And I think so. I hope people. I think there's a lot of real people in this film that I hope someone might connect with a little bit in watching it.
Awesome. What did you do in this movie that you've learned from and will better improve your next movie?
So where do we begin?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this a 9-hour podcast?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're already in post-production for our next film. And so, there are things I've directly seen us improve. Organization is one of them. And not that we weren't organized the first time around, but just more efficient organization, like what is actually beneficial in terms of, administrative stuff, in terms of communication. Really streamlining that, and we just we did a lot of stuff for Lemon Drop that we were just like, this might help, let's try it this way, and then we were like, we should have done it this other way. Cool.
Yeah, we called it like our film school,
Yes.
because some of the crew had gone to film school, some hadn't, but it was really all of us bringing our own experiences and our own talent, but learning from each other and each other's experiences, and then doing the best we could with all of that. So we got this whole bounty of information and knowledge and things we tried and troubleshooting and producing, and then we took all that onto the next production. So it was much more efficient. I think going through the distribution process, Adler and Associates distributed our film. So going through that and quality control and some of the processes of that made us more prepared for our next film. So we know how to keep things documented, what's going to work for all of that in the future. And that has definitely informed some of our decisions on our last production as well.
Awesome. So can you talk about the next movie?
I did the last one.
I love this film. I just think Sammi sums things up so much more beautifully than I do. But it's a road trip comedy drama film about this relationship. I can't do this because there's just so many pieces that I want to share about it and so many moments. But
I know. I feel
basically this couple goes on a road trip. They're exes, and they're forced to go in a car on a road trip up the coast of California together for the main character's sister's wedding. And because they're forced in the situation, they have to discuss their relationship and what went wrong, and really get awkward and uncomfortable, exposing what happened, and then kind of confronting where they are now and where they want to be in the future. Also, the lead is pregnant, and the kid is not the guys who's sitting next to her driving up the coast. So that's an extra fun challenge, and wasn't a great pitch, but that's sort of what it's about. And I just want to say, I love, if I can pat us on the back, I love that we chose a pregnant female to be a lead. Because I think, going back to what you say about not having typical or stereotypical roles for people, you don't see that a lot. There's also a lesbian couple who gets married, but that's not the center of the film. That's not what the film's about. It's just, there's all sorts of diversity. And it's just this really nice mirror of the world as it is today, and not necessarily what we traditionally see in movies. So I'm really proud that we made some bold decisions for this one, and I cannot wait to share it with you. I'm so excited for this film.
I am too. And I just, one thing that like gets me like extra excited about this is that, I mean, talking about characters and like the humanity we're trying to reflect as storytellers and filmmakers, is that these two characters, spend so much time trying to hide from each other, even though they're locked in a small space together.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite things to play. And when we were writing it, we wrote this one together. Steph came up with the idea, and then we worked together on finishing the script. And that's just like, that's my favorite stuff as an actress. Like, it always has been, just like those like deep layered moments. And there's so much time where these two people are who know each other better than anybody. I mean, they have been they had been a couple for a really long time, and even though they know each other so well, they're still pretending that they can hide what they're feeling and hide, you know, the stuff that's going on inside, and that slowly breaks down over the course of the film. And that just, to me, resonated in such a deep way that I'm really excited to share.
Awesome. Any last thoughts on a Lemon Drop before we wrap up?
I guess I can say I'm just really excited to be reliving it and talking about it, because we're on post-production of this other film that's so different in tone, in subject, in almost every capacity. It's just wonderful to live through all these moments, all the adventures we have, and to give it life through the distribution process. It's on Amazon right now. It's in 80 territories worldwide, 3 different languages, and just to know that it's out there accessible to so many people, and to be able to sit here and talk about it with you guys and to relive those memories, it's just truly thrilling. And I'm super glad to be invited onto your show and get to share that with everybody.
Of course.
I agree. It's so lovely to get to revisit it after, you know, a little bit of space and more of the you know, distribution, and learning more about that back end of it as opposed to the creative end of it. And not to say that that stuff's not creative too, but I don't know, something that comes to mind that I just want to say is in terms of like being film school, you know, and it was really great because we all kind of understood that we were all learning through this process. We wanted to do our very best job, to do everything we could to tell the story as authentically and creatively as possible, while also, you know, understanding that we're all learning. I think that was such a cool environment. And specifically for me, as an actor and producer, I got to learn some tough lessons and some other very easy, like, you know, helpful lessons. But like I was producing these scenes, acting in them, and then watching dailies. Like, and that was, you know, and I have, you know, had lots of experience with film before, but only from an actor perspective. Right. And in terms of being film school, like, it was intense, especially, you know, if I saw something that I really hated that I did, I had to, like, you know, step back from that and look at it as a producer and be objective and turn to you and the rest of our crew for things I couldn't be objective on, but also look at the bigger picture and kind of step outside of myself as an actor and be like, okay, this is what we're trying to do, and within the confines of that, this works, whether or not I like the way my face looks at that angle. Like, it just very specific things for an actor that, like, I think I'm so grateful for it, because I really understand film as a whole much better now, and I think it makes me a much better and less ego-driven actor, to be totally honest.
Well said.
Awesome. All right, well, Lemon Drop is available to rent and stream on Amazon Prime and Vimeo in several territories. Thank you both for coming out.
Thank you for having us.
It was a blast.
No problem. Go out there and rent Lemon Drop. It's definitely worth a watch. There's some crazy visuals in it, some crazy themes in it, and you will not regret it. All right, thank you, and have a great day.